Over the last number of years, we have automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Missouri, and Iowa, all states that were swing states and competitive, and all states that went to Donald Trump. So that's the state we're in right now, and unfortunately, I'm here to say things are going to get much, much worse. What we did to the manufacturing workers, we're about to do to retail workers, call center workers, fast food workers, truck drivers, and on through the economy.
A large American factory stopped production today after more than half a century. 1,600 workers at the General Motors plant in Lordstown, Ohio, are affected by this.
More than 3,300 hourly workers will be laid off indefinitely. The cuts come as the automaker is reporting a near record $12 billion profit last year.
And after plant closing down right here in the metro, Pepsi recently announcing it is shutting down its Casey location before summer.
We've covered it a lot. There's the number. 41,000 people in the retail industry lost their jobs in the first 3 months of this year.
So Payless is closing all 2,100 of its stores left over. Gymboree, all 749. Charlotte Russe closing 512 stores.
Americans love to buy, but getting shoppers into traditional malls and stores is becoming a hard sell. Shopping centers turning into ghost towns as consumers shift to online shopping. Just this week, a new prediction that over the next 5 years, 20 to 25% of malls will close permanently. Big anchor stores like JCPenney, Sears, and Macy's have all recently announced closings. The ripple effect can be devastating.
How many of you have noticed stores closing where you work and live here in Ohio? Raise your hands. It's not just you. Amazon alone is closing 30% of America's stores and malls, soaking up $20 billion in business while paying zero in taxes. These are the problems that got Donald Trump elected, the fourth industrial revolution. And that is going to accelerate and grow more serious regardless of who is in the Oval Office.
Holiday season, you may see some changes at the store. A Morning Rush insider noticed fewer employees and more self-checkout stations at her favorite stores. She expressed concerns and wanted to know why it has become a trend.
More than 3 million cashier jobs, 74% of them held by women. But in the last 5 years alone, 50,000 jobs have gone offline, a trend expected to continue.
For decades, automation has eaten up more American jobs than global trade, according to economists who warn that the job losses may be poised to accelerate.
So therefore, are you convinced long-term that we're going to have a jobs problem in the world?
Not long-term, but maybe in the next 10 years, within the next 10 years.
You mean it's going to happen much sooner?
Much sooner.
Oh, these are the automated ones.
Our Stu Mundell over the Port of Los Angeles, seeing something unfold many folks probably didn't know about. The port is going automated. Artificial intelligence and digital technology are moving and powering commerce here.
These are drones.
Containers are lowered onto trailers, and within seconds, those trucks drive off. They know where to turn, where to drive, and where to drop off their cargo. They even yield to each other when one crosses in front of the other, and there are no humans in sight.
This week, the U.S. Postal Service began a 2-week pilot program with self-driving truck company Too Simple. The self-driving trucks will be making 5 round trips, carrying USPS trailers between Phoenix and Dallas on some of the country's busiest highways. Too Simple trucks are expected to operate without onboard human supervision by 2021.
It doesn't get tired, it doesn't text, it is a very safe technology.
Senator Warren, I've been talking to Americans around the country about automation, and they're smart. They see what's happening around them. Their Main Street stores are closing. They see a self-serve kiosk in every McDonald's, every grocery store, every CVS. Driving a truck is the most common job in 29 states, including this one. 3.5 million truck drivers in this country, and my friends in California are piloting self-driving trucks. What is that going to mean for the 3.5 million truckers or the 7 million Americans who work in truck stops, motels, and diners that rely upon the truckers getting out and having a meal? Saying this is a rules problem is ignoring the reality that Americans see around us every single day.
In other news, debt in U.S. households has hit a record high. Government data shows Americans owe $14 trillion. That number comes mostly from mortgages, student loans, and credit cards.
People all across the country working in jobs once considered middle class, but now living far below a middle class lifestyle.
The amount of adults in their late 20s living with their parents or grandparents is the highest it has been in over 75 years.
The number of people living on the streets of Nashville is rising. In fact, in the
the last year, the homeless population has increased by about 10%.
Now, the latest report just released from the Ohio Department of Health indicates suicide deaths have increased by 45% among all Ohioans in the last 10 years.
Finally, tonight, a stark new report shows the opioid crisis seems to be deepening across the country. The Centers for Disease Control released data showing overdoses are increasing at an alarming rate.
The problem is that so many people feel like the economy has left them behind. What we have to do is we have to say, look, there's record high GDP and stock market prices. You know what else are at record highs? Suicides, drug overdoses, depression, anxiety. It's gotten so bad that American life expectancy has declined for the last 3 years. And I like to talk about my wife who's at home with our 2 boys right now, one of whom is autistic. What does her work count at in today's economy? 0, and we know that's the opposite of the truth. We know that her work is among the most challenging and vital. If you've heard anything about me and my campaign, you've heard that someone is running for president who wants to give every American $1,000 a month. I know this may sound like a gimmick, but this is a deeply American idea, from Thomas Paine to Martin Luther King to today. Let me tell you why we need to do it and how we pay for it. Why do we need to do it? We already automated away millions of manufacturing jobs, and chances are your job could be next. If you don't believe me, just ask an auto worker here in Detroit. $1,000 a month for every adult would be $461 million every month right here in Detroit alone. The automation of our jobs is a central challenge facing us today. It is why Donald Trump is our president, and any politician not addressing it is failing the American people. So if you're a parent, you've had this thought, maybe you've been afraid to express it, and it is this: our kids are not all right. They're not all right because we're leaving them a future that is far darker than the lives that we have led as their parents. We are going through the greatest economic transformation in our country's history, the 4th Industrial Revolution, and it is pushing more and more of our people to the side. We talk as if Donald Trump is the cause of all of our problems. He is not. He is a symptom, and we need to cure the disease. Now, my first move was not to run for president of the United States, because I am not insane. My first move was to go to D.C., talk to our leaders, and say, technology is ripping us apart. Immigrants are being scapegoated, our kids are being left behind, and the American dream that my parents came here to find is dying before our eyes. And the people in Washington, D.C. had nothing for this. They don't want to touch it. They don't want to talk about an issue they don't think they have a solution for. I'm not running for president because I've fantasized about being president. I'm running for president because, like many of you here in this room tonight, I'm a parent and a patriot, and I have seen the future that we're leaving for our kids, and it is not something I'm willing to accept. We need to create a new way forward for our people. If you want to join us in rewriting the rules of the 21st century economy, go to yang2020.com and make it so that we can look our kids in the eyes and say to them, and believe it, your country loves you, your country values you, and you will be all right.